On Thursday, we saw the end of a corrupt, out of touch government, a Tory party that only represented the interests of itself and those people who donated to it. We saw the election of a Labour government with a huge majority, maybe not the votes, but certainly the MPs. And what we've got to wait for now is to see how this Labour government reacts. Will it continue with the Tory policies, which it said during the election it intended to do? Or with the huge mandate that it now has, will it actually go further and become a reforming government? Because that's what this country really needs. It needs reform. They often say that the best Labour government are the ones of Attlee. Attlee can only dream of the position that Starmer found himself in today. And in contrast, what that Attlee government did to what this current Labour Party is suggesting, with a financial situation far worse than what the Labour Party has inherited today, created a country after that Second World War that put pride back in every community and gave people hope. It built council houses, created a welfare state, it created a national health service, and it brought us full employment with jobs that paid a decent wage. Starmer finds himself in a position where he's able to mirror that government, to mirror a government that invested in its people and not in its donors. And we need to start by rebuilding our council houses. Because security for all of us starts with a safe, decent home to live in. We need to reinvest in our healthcare system, and that means taking private health out of the NHS and restoring it to its foundations and the principles that brought it into being. And that means accessible for all those that live and work in the United Kingdom. It means a welcoming place, whether you're an asylum seeker or somebody that was born here. It doesn't judge, it just helps you to get well again. It improves lives and it changes all of our opportunities by improving our health. We need to see a new deal for workers, one that recognises that 0 hours contracts no longer play a place in a workforce if we have aspirations for raising all of our opportunities in life. The end of the ability to fire and rehire to force workers to accept lower terms and conditions and replace them if they won't accept what the bosses demand. And that means a new deal for workers, not one that's acceptable to the bosses, but one that's accepted by the workers and the people and the citizens that work in the United Kingdom. We need to build a society that feels it's represented and feels it has a future. Otherwise, what we will witness in this country is what they're just witnessing over in Europe, and we saw in France, the rise of the far right, because we should be under no illusion. It's the centrist politics of Macron and others across Europe that have enabled and emboldened the far right to be able to make the power gains that they have. And we should all be worried about that. It's never been a migrant that's made your life hard. It's always been political decisions that have caused the hardship we all face in our communities. And that's why it's really important that we organise and we prepare to mobilise. Because if we don't, then that gap will be filled by the far right, by Farage and his crew, that will continue to use migrants as an excuse for the difficulties we face. Poverty is politically made. Inequality is politically driven. And our duty is to highlight where politicians fail, to work with and build in our communities so that they understand that there is an opportunity for a different world. Melicom got elected on a platform of not increasing the hardship of working people and not making them work longer, but actually talking about reducing the retirement age. He spoke about raising the minimum wage, which is already higher in France than it is here in the UK. It gave hope and aspiration to the people of that country. And it's now time for people to hear an alternative to the economic policies that have been in place in this country since 1979. Because before 1979, which a lot of people recall, and they do talk about in such glowing terms, was because this country was based on collective solutions to the problems we face, rather than what's in it for the shareholders and the value that the shareholders get out of that investment. We need a country that invests in its people. And that's why it's important that we organise and talk about the issues that can really change people's lives. It's why, as part of the For Many network, we organised around 12 principles, such as the renationalisation of our energy, of our water, of our postal service, of our transport system, because we recognise that those discussions are no longer part of the debate, but yet they can have such a significant impact on the lives that we all lead.